Oh, there it is. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian, and joining me, as always, is your co-host, Jim. Is your co-host, it is a Tuesday, your co-host, Spaz, right there.
Hello.
And your co-host, Hunter.
Yep, it's me. I'm here.
Yay! Hello, everyone. Sorry that we have been a little inconsistent and sporadic of late. Life has been a fucking mess, and so it's just some nights we're like, we're not feeling well, or we're not up to it, or whatever. But you know, we'll not stay off for long. So thanks for sticking with us. However many of you there are. So not a lot of news. I guess the big news is we have a release date for Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. It is August 13th. And you can pre-order it now on the Epic Games Store. I hope that doesn't trigger anyone. I'm sorry if it does. But it's only on the Epic Games Store for a year.
So triggered.
Get used to it. Just buy it.
So triggered.
It's the best space game of the last decade. Box quote. Done. It's just that good. I've got about 70 hours in it. I have finished the story, and I'm nowhere near done playing because the side missions are too fun. I'm blowing shit up.
Tetris Effect also came out today on PC.
Is
Epic.
that worth $40? I don't know if I've ever paid that much for a Tetris game since the original Tetris. And I don't even know if it was that much.
Well, I double dipped, so I got it.
Well,
It's what, 32 actually right now, launch discount. So I got it on PS4 and then got it today, and I'm happy with it. It's exactly what I expected it to be. Well,
yeah.
Tetris Effect is the best Tetris game I've ever played. So,
oh, really?
if you like it, then
Well,
grab it on console, PS4, PSVR, or get it on PC because it all has VR support there.
I will eventually get it because I am a Tetris fanatic. I've played not every version, but a lot of them. My favorite is Tetris DS, actually.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Tetris
yeah.
Attack was my thing back in the day.
Which one was that? Which platform was that on?
Tetris Attack was on SNES.
Oh, no wonder I never played that one. I never had it as
Oh, you weren't console gaming at the time.
No, I wasn't. I'm still mostly not, but I dabble, dip my toe in every once in a while. Not on any of the new stuff, though.
It does tie into our topic, though, because
Yeah, it does. It does.
You don't want to play that with a keyboard and mouse. You
No.
definitely need a gamepad for that game.
So, friends, this is gonna. I'm super tired and my brain isn't working, so this is probably gonna be a random loose show. But we do have a topic. I was fortunate enough to get a copy of Rebel Galaxy Outlaw from Travis Baldry of Double Damage Games to help test, find bugs, that sort of thing. And he designed that game for a gamepad. Like, you can play it with anything. You can play it with a HOTAS, multiple device HOTAS even, which is nice. Mouse and keyboard, just a joystick and a keyboard, whatever you want. It does it all, really, which is great. But he says he's getting older. He doesn't want to move his joints around as much, so he designed it for a gamepad. And when I tell people how amazing it is on the gamepad, I've been getting a lot of resistance. Like, but it's like Privateer. It's a joystick game. I mean, sure, but listen to what I'm telling you. It's designed for, like, I don't know about you guys, you co-hosts or you guys out there, but I try and play a game the way the developer has designed it. You know, like with Everspace for example. Oh, go ahead.
I have thoughts about that. Right.
Okay, hit me.
So so I'm not a I'm not against your position, but I do have an addendum to your position.
Oh, it's fine. This is
So I I'm of the opinion that like everything has kind of a place. So as an example, I think of a game like Grand Theft Auto, right? And I'm trying it out again because I recently just put in the new casino stuff as of today. And one of the things that I think about is they've got it's like a twofold system. They have like you can play first person in that game. If you play first person, mouse and keyboard's the way to go. And let me tell you, like I have so much fun playing first person in that game with a mouse and keyboard. However, when it comes to vehicles of any kind, whether it be land, sea, or air, a controller is right next to me for whenever I get in and out of one of those things. Because I feel like with a mouse and keyboard, I don't get quite the versatile control with it as I do with a controller.
That's a good
But
point.
it's
Good.
but it's not so much that I feel like I need something as OP as like a full HOTAS just to fly a helicopter in an arcadey kind of game like Grand Theft Auto. It's not a sim, right? It's not a simulate. You look at Rebel Galaxy. I wouldn't qualify Rebel Galaxy as a simulator. But as a PC audience, right? We on the PC have got that unfortunate name to ourselves, PCMR, right? Where it's quite literally where on a PC I can emulate Breath of the Wild and use a PlayStation controller. It's like, yeah, that's definitely not the way that the developers intended me to play that game. However, I can do it. And
That's
I like
fair.
that I like that the PC gives me those options.
So let me throw an addendum out to your addendum. Ghost Recon Wildlands,
I
do
was
the
just
exact
gonna-
same thing.
That's true. It's true. I forgot about I was just about to
Yeah.
mention that because I forgot about this until you mentioned the running around with the mouse and keyboard, vehicles with the gamepad. I'm like, oh yeah, Wildlands, Watch Dogs 2, same exact thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Same
not
thing.
necessarily that is bad though. We have that option.
Well, and here's
We
the funny
absolutely
thing.
have that option.
Here's the funny thing. I cannot, for the life of me, do really well mouse and keyboard in a third-person shooter. Like with a third-person shooter, for some reason with me, I have to use a controller. It's just something. It's something weird about the way the game plays. For me personally.
That's fair.
But you know, but you see again though, that's what I love about the versatility of it. Because you can quite literally have your cake and eat it too.
That's true. That's
Now,
true.
of course, there's the argument where like people could get mad at the devs for only allowing one type of gameplay. Like, why doesn't your game support a HOT? Huh?
Yeah.
Like, there's that argument too.
Yeah, because like I bought $1,000 worth of HOTAS and I've dedicated an entire room of my house into being a replica spaceship just to play this one game. And if they don't support it, I'm gonna get a bus ticket. And I'm gonna be fine.
Well, again though, it goes back to defining whether or not a game is a sim. Like I would venture to say that the old X-Wing series is a sim, and Rogue
Yeah.
Squadron is not.
I tried playing
Yeah.
TIE Fighter with a gamepad. I set it up so you can do it.
That's an instant nope.
It was bad. It was really, really bad. It was
Well, okay, so
It was so bad.
here's the thing, and this illustrates it perfectly, right? So whenever you have a game that is like Ace Combat 7, it works beautifully with a gamepad. It also works pretty well with a HOTAS, right? The reason why is because the game is aware, and think about driving games too, right? Like if you play a driving game with a steering wheel versus a gamepad. So what does the game have to do? Well, the game has to have an entirely different response curve because the throw distance on a gamepad thumbstick is very, very short, right? So within like a half inch, you've deflected the control the whole way. And then with a joystick, you've got like 4 inches each way. So it's a factor of 8 times the amount of granularity to your control that you have. And then with a steering wheel, it's even more, because most of those steering wheels can do 720 degrees, right? So you have, like, whatever the radius of the wheel is, or not radius, the circumference of the wheel is times 3, right? Is how many inches you got. So super fine control in there. But that's because also with race cars, it's like whenever you're driving along, it takes just like very little motion. But the game if you're using a gamepad, it has to compensate big time for that. Because if you were doing that with a gamepad and you had it set to wheel sensitivity, you'd just like fly off the track by breathing on it. So yeah. So it's as long as the game was built in an era where it can have that sensitivity adjustment in there for it, you're okay. And since they're specifically designing this thing to be gamepad friendly, because they're also going to port to consoles right away, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah. So I mean, that's why you do it,
Yeah.
But that, and nobody has a damn joystick anymore except for us nuts. So
I do know people who are buying joysticks because of this game, even though I'm telling them they don't need one. But
so
sure.
So a damn good joystick. Like if you're in the market for a joystick and you want to play this game with a stick and throttle, the Thrustmaster T16000 is the best cheap joystick you can get. It's like $40, and then it's another $40 for the throttle. And the throttle's damn good. Like the only reason that I got rid of that throttle was because I bought the Thrustmaster Warthog stuff because I caught it on sale. But other than that, I was flying helicopters in Arma like every day with that throttle and perfectly happy with it. And I used to have a Logitech 3D Pro joystick, which I've also highly recommend that. It's got more buttons and more thumb accessible buttons. Let's say I ignore those buttons down around the base. It's like, why? I don't know why they put them on there. I guess if you're one-handed, or if you're two-handed the joystick instead of have a separate throttle, sure, you could reach over there and hit those. But I like them both. The potentiometer after a while goes off a little bit in the 3D Pro because it's just a standard pot that's in that thing. But the Thrustmaster stuff, the $40 stick and the like
feedback Sidewinder force feedback 2 thing, you can for between $40 and $100.
Are you gonna go into business refurbing those things, because that's really your calling? So that what you need to do is you get some of that that Nyla whatever grease, right? That's like $30 a tube on Amazon. It's supposed to be like miracle lube for joysticks.
Yeah, I haven't had to do that yet, but I found this guide someone wrote on like Air Warrior forum. I'm not even kidding, about cleaning his force feedback too. And it's basically that. You take it apart and you put this grease on the plastic gears. And it's great. But I haven't had a need to do that. But this thing centers like a mother, and it's a tank. You could beat someone up with it.
The thing that I find most amazing about the force feedback sticks, because like I said, I just bought this like $300 joystick, right? The first thing that I did before I even like plugged in the USB cable the first time, I wiggled the stick and I went, oh God, no. And I tore it apart because there's a big spring that's in there. Have you, you've seen the Cytec sticks, right? So instead of having like, 2 separate springs, that center it left and right and, forward and backwards. And that gives you like a dead zone in the middle where it kind of thunks into there. Okay. So what they did is, instead of that, they have a plate that whenever you push the plate up, it sticks the joystick vertical, right? So the resistance is basically when you move the stick over, you're pushing the plate down, and it wants to come back up because it's got a big spring under it. So the force of the spring shoving upwards will recenter the joystick. The problem is Thrustmaster decided to put a spring on here that could probably be used on a car. So, like in car suspension, that spring is ridiculous. And I'm sure somebody sells like an aftermarket replacement thing for it, but it had to go, right? Because it's like it's way too stiff. So what I ended up doing is I took it apart and you flip the springs. It's got like 4 springs down there that are like a retainer thing, and that's underneath the big spring. So I took those out. I took the big spring out and I just tossed it in a box, and then the pins that those springs ride on, I had to pull them out, take the springs out, push the pins back down, and then put the springs on top. So the 4 little springs replace that one giant spring, and now it's beautiful. It's like perfect because it will recenter itself, but if I push it forwards and take my hand off it, it stays exactly where I put it. It doesn't, but if I pull it back to the center, it very clearly has a center that it'll kind of detent in. But yeah, so this is right where I needed it. But I just need to get a little bit of that grease stuff just to make it just a little bit smoother, because the stock grease that they put in it kind of sucks. But after that, it'll be smooth like butter. Because I do a lot of helicopter flying, and this is to my point with your force feedback stick, is with the force feedback stick, you can actually open up the control panel and you have a slider that's centering tension, and you can set it from wet noodle to like really hard to move, right?
I don't know if you can do that now. I don't know if you can do that anymore. You might have been able to do that.
Maybe that was their old school software.
Yeah, that might have been their software. I don't think you can do that just with like Windows control panel anymore.
Well, does it have any centering tension, or is it just flops over if you let go of it?
It just flops over if you let go of it, but when you put your hand on it, it just centers like a motherfucker.
Okay.
It's great.
So like the game actually pushes it into the center?
No, it has a light sensor on it at the base of the stick, and when you put your hand on it, it covers that sensor, and the motors stiffen.
Right. Okay. So it does have a centering tension then.
Yeah, but you can't
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you can't control it.
But I'm just saying. Yeah. So the old software, you used to be able to dial that up and down to make the thing as resistant as you want. And the other thing about it is that you can set the center point anywhere you want. Right. So in a real helicopter, the way those things work is they have force trim. Right, and what it actually is it's a friction thing. It's a magnet basically, and you have it on a push button. So you shove the stick to where you want. Where it's like, okay, we're flying in a wind and whatever, so I have to like push the stick over a little bit to keep it flying straight. And then it's like, okay, I need to take my hand off the stick, or I just don't want to have to push it there. Or if I move the stick, I want it to be centered there, right? So then you pop that button, and then the magnets engage, and that becomes the new center for the stick. So if you deflect the stick, it will come back to that spot, like it's on a spring, right? And that's how helicopters work, basically. So what you could do with the force feedback stick back in the day is you could actually do that. You could set a button that would like lock the center, and I could hit a button to unlock it and then push the stick where it needed to be and then recenter it where I had it. And then take my hand off of it, or whatever, and it would pop right back to where I set it at. And that alone, other than the whole force feedback, like jiggles in your hand kind of thing, the haptic stuff, to me, the ability to have dynamic tension and to custom set the centering of the stick would be the reason to buy that. And I don't know, maybe somebody out there that makes high-end flight controls could maybe do that for helicopter simmers, and we'd be very grateful. Just saying, just putting it out there.
Well, we love our joysticks too here at Space Game Junkie. I've had more joysticks than gamepads.
Yeah, I find that interesting though. Like, I find the shaming kind of weird. Like, gaming, I guess this is the culture we live in general. It's been like this for a long time, but I just find it interesting that, like, oh, what? No, screw you and your gamepad. Play it like this. Like, holy crap, it's on the PC. There's so many ways to play this. Like, why are you giving... I don't know.
But do you remember
like,
when Freelancer came out and it was like mouse control in a spaceship? Oh my god! And then the game didn't sell, right?
And
But
that's
then years
but
later, we go back and play it, and we're like, "Damn, this was the best mouse control ever."
but that's the thing. After Freelancer, everyone tried to do that. Dark Star 1, Tar Chronicles, Tomorrow War, they all tried to emulate.
Was it necessity though? Because people just weren't buying joysticks anymore.
That was part of it.
Well, I mean,
I'm sure that was part of it, yeah.
That's part of it, but like, how many people, like, if you want to appeal to a grander audience, it's like the VR thing, right? VR is cool. VR is like elite, right? Like, how do you want to play your epic space sim? I got a VR that shit, right? But Eve Valkyrie sold that thing specifically for VR, and honestly, I think that's what helped to tank them. Because it was like, you got a copy of Eve Valkyrie when you got an Oculus or something like that at one point. But like, how many Oculuses were being sold?
Well, and that's the other thing that tanked them was they gave it away for free with the particular piece of hardware that you needed.
Well, sure, but the point I'm trying to make though is like, you got to buy a piece of hardware in order to gain. It's a barrier of entry in order to enjoy X, Y.
Yeah.
As where, like, you look at something like Pulsar. Pulsar like added that thing like later, but you don't have to use it. And that's what I think is the brilliant thing about some of these games, to where like we play Star Trek Bridge Crew, right? I know we're kind of going off base here, but
Don't worry about it.
Bridge Crew was originally VR required, and then they made it flat screen compatible.
Right, but the niche there is not just that, but like they've opened it up to an even broader audience than that. So like, you can do crossplay.
And I'm going to tell you,
which we have, on his PlayStation,
which we've done. I'm going to tell you,
VR, and then Brian plays, not. So it's kind of like,
I'm going to tell you, they have done
my PSVR.
They have done a terrible job letting people know about that. Because when I tell people to buy Bridge Crew, they're like, "Oh, I don't have VR." They fixed that like a year ago.
yeah. Well, and so but like, again, that's the point I'm trying to make though, is like, when it comes to like a flight sim game, having a single barrier of entry that you can only use X, Y, and Z to play limits the audience that you can reach, right? As where, back when like TIE Fighter and stuff came out, and X-Wing and that kind of stuff, it was a little harder to say, wow, mouse and keyboard to play a TIE Fighter game. Like, the whole point of that game was to have the experience of what it was like to fly an X-Wing or a TIE Fighter.
Well, not only that, but back then, computer gamers were the definition of enthusiasts. And when you're an enthusiast, you have the joystick, so... now
and so many people today do have controllers too, because like, and I think Microsoft is to be applauded here, because if you look at the 360 controller, right? The 360
delightful.
controller is basically an upgraded version of the GameCube controller, right? I mean, look at the layout. You got the joystick in the left, you got the D-pad below that, you got the C-stick to the right, which is essentially another joystick. And then you've got your 4 buttons, and then, they just added another shoulder button and a trigger. So, not added another shoulder button and trigger, but like, they had the Z button above the right shoulder button. So essentially, the Xbox controller just added another one of those on the left side. And essentially, you've got the 360 controller, which is like an upgrade version of that. And then you take that a step further, and then you have the Xbox One controllers. And then you take that an even step further than that the Xbox One X controllers and the One S controllers are Bluetooth compatible. So I can hook those things up to my phone. I can hook them up to my NVIDIA Shield console. Like, anything that supports Bluetooth, I can take it. I can hook it up to my PC, my laptop. I can take it with me anywhere. So it literally has become a universal tool to play stuff.
Yeah, this is why I don't get the resistance that I've been encountering in regards to just even owning one.
Because here's the other thing though that I found, that I've been tinkering around with a lot of really crazy technologies. So there is an app for iPhone and Mac called OneCast, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And it was developed specifically so that people can stream their Xbox natively to... It's a native streaming app to be able to stream Xbox gameplay. Like what we can do on the Windows, they can have a tool to do that on the Xbox. Well, they've been beta testing this on the Android. Well, I was able to actually play with very minor lag to the point where you don't even notice it while you're playing. I was able to play Halo like on my phone.
Oh my god.
And well, of course I was on my home network, but like I was laying in bed with my phone and my controller, and I was playing Halo like in bed. So, and like Halo 4, mind you, like not not like a Halo 1 or something like that, but I was able to direct stream from the Xbox to my phone with an Xbox controller. And
friend,
sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, friends, that is the word OneCast. That's one word .me. If you're interested in that, it looks phenomenal.
So it's got better. If you have an iPhone or like any Apple device, it works better with that because they already have a fully supported app.
Mm-hmm.
But you can, if you can find it, there is a beta version for Android that they are currently in beta with that I'm working. So it to me is just like a testament of like you look at like what Microsoft has done, especially with the Xbox. This last 2 years alone, what they've been pushing with what they've been able to do compatibility wise with that kind of technology. It makes sense that a lot of developers want to support a controller. Now I know that the joysticks are definitely more niche. Don't get me wrong, I've got my own HOTAS as well, but I definitely understand the appeal of being able to just like pick up and go.
I would say part of it is a barrier of entry. Part of it is also depending on the gamepad, I should say, because let me give you an example. Speaking of games that worked horribly on a gamepad, Wing Commander, Sega Saturn.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Wait.
But it worked amazing on the 3DO. No.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible. It was hard to control.
You know what? You're right. No,
control interfaces. You had 6 main buttons and the D-pad, and
thank God
you were lucky if you could get through a mission at times, just because you were still limited.
Thank God Sony invented the DualShock, because if Sony had not done that, we would probably still be dealing with that plus sign D-pad bullshit from Nintendo.
I can't play, like, I wanted to play the Colony Wars games once I got a PS3. I can't play the first one because it's D-pad only. It doesn't work with the DualShock, and I can't get it to run with so I can't play it. It's horrible.
Yes.
Same thing with Wing Commander 4. I got the PlayStation version of that. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful.
See, the thing, it's like people that are like hating on gamepads. It's like, no, the gamepad is great. It excels in the living room, right? When you're playing something on TV or whatever that's console-y. But also console-y things, like if you're doing retro emulation stuff, you better have a gamepad. And then I would say a good solid 80% of the titles on Steam are gamepad focused now.
A lot of them.
You better have a gamepad. A lot of them don't even have keyboard and mouse support. I'm starting to see that, like it's gamepad or get lost. And
a lot of even state, the developer states you need to have a gamepad to play the game.
Yeah.
On some of them, they'll list it with a warning. In fact, in orange, you'd have a gamepad to play this game.
Yeah, the nice part though is that now with USB and in Windows 10, Windows finally got their shit together about what joystick is dominant, right?
Oh, really?
But yes.
How do you do that?
So I have my gamepad and my HOTAS all hooked up together. You can go into the control panel to your controllers thing, and there's a drop down, and you just pick which one's going to be device 1. So any game that is retarded about which one to listen to will default to that one. And otherwise, games are just smart. They're like, oh, I see you got a gamepad. You probably don't want to play, like this console, like this platformer game with your HOTAS. So we're going to just obey that gamepad.
I'll do you one better.
Where do you see that?
my foot switch pedal, some games will detect that as a controller, and I use that as many of you know, I use that as a push to talk key. So there are games where I'll be on Discord trying to talk to you guys or playing with someone, and the foot switch gets detected as a controller, and the game won't run, can't control anything because it hasn't been excluded from the list or put down on the priority list.
You know, there's one thing about joysticks and gamepads and Unreal 3 games that just pisses me. It's like the worst, dude.
Hey,
is whenever, yeah.
Now, I was going to ask, where do you see this thing in Windows? Because I'm looking at the game controllers. I've got the gamepad and the joystick hooked up, and I don't see an option to select which one's option one.
All right, let me fish this up.
What I did is I got a powered USB port with buttons, and I could power each USB port on and off individually. That's what I do.
Yeah, that'll work too. Okay, so you right click on any controller, and you go to properties.
Wait, right click on where? USB in game controllers?
No, you're in control panel, devices, and printer.
Oh, okay. Sorry, folks. Hang on. I almost want to see this. View devices and printers. Okay, hang on. Come on, buddy. Oh, I see it. Okay.
Yeah, so now right click on your gamepad or whatever.
Right. I see it. Okay.
And go to game controller settings.
Right. And I got game controllers.
And it should give you a list of all your controllers.
Right. Oh, I see. Preferred device.
And then hit expand. Yeah.
Oh. That's with older programs, though. That's fine. Whatever.
Right. Because new stuff is smart. And it's only your legacy stuff that's going to be dumb.
I see.
However, if I have any gamepad or joystick or anything plugged in, and about 75% of the old Unreal Engine 3 games, you start that thing up and your guy will just like spin in place. It's fucking irritating. I can't, man. Like, I just bought that Project Warlock, and it does it. I can't even believe it. Like, start up Project Warlock, and there's no option to disable joystick input, so I have to unplug all my USB shit to play that game, which means I don't play that game. So, yeah, it's very irritating.
Yeah, I spent about $80 on a powered USB hub with like 16 ports, and each port has a button. I can turn it on and off individually. It's great.
Oh, that's nice.
Exactly that thing. So, like, if I just have a controller, just boop, 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 you know, if I wanted to use the hottest.
Your next move is get a power strip that's TCP, and then you can turn off your power plugs remotely.
I'll turn them on from the car when I get home from an app.
Yeah, no, you set your phone right with if this then that. It's like whenever you get within 5 feet of your front door, it just like powers on all your.
So, friends, Jim posted in the stream chat a picture of probably one of the most legendary PC gamepads ever, the Gravis PC gamepad, which was admittedly a terrible gamepad. It was.
I think it was the first one, right?
It might have been. It might have been.
So it's a little purple D-pad, and the buttons are Skittles.
And the middle of the D-pad is open, so you could screw in the tiniest joystick. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Metal threaded hole, and because it's like the precursor of the thumbstick, right?
I guess. I never used it though.
It was a terrible, skinny little joystick. It was like having a pencil that you pushed around with your thumb instead.
And
of
you lost it so easily. So easily. I lost it like within a week of getting it. I was just like, whatever. I never used it anyway. But I used that thing for like jazz.
I used one too.
Oh really?
Yeah, on a friend's PC, I used it to play Final Fantasy VII for the first time before I got it on PS1. But I remember that nub on it as well, and it kind of reminded me of one of the attachments you could buy for the original Game Boy.
Yeah, I was going to say those used game ports.
Yeah, Chatham's in the chat was like, were those PS2 or serial ports? I'm like, no, game ports. Remember game ports? You had to have a sound card. You had a sound blaster to get the game. For some fucking reason, you had to get a sound card to get a game port. Why? I don't know.
Basically the worst.
It was so weird.
Hey, I'm gonna say this, and I know Brian's answer, but I'm just saying, hey guys, remember sound cards? Remember
Of
sound
course,
cards?
I'm still using one, dude. I got one for
I
my
know,
new
that's
machine.
why I said,
Yeah,
I know.
I
Some audiophiles out there are really into it.
Sound Blaster hardcore since 1994, basically. Got it for AW-32 for TIE Fighter. Never looked back.
Yeah. I remember, speaking of which, that kind of reminds me, it was like when 2003 or 2004, I got my first NVIDIA card, and I've never looked back.
I did dabble with AMD for a little bit, but now I'm just in NVIDIA. If it's just EVGA and NVIDIA, that's whatever. I'm done. That's all I need forever. But I had Microsoft started making gamepads around the 90s too. Like, do you remember the Freestyle one that came with Motocross Madness? Do you guys remember that one? It was almost like handlebars. It had these really long.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It had these really, and it had a gyro in it. It had a gyroscope in it, so you could actually steer with it. It was not great.
What was it, the Wingman gamepad that Microsoft made too? They used to make stuff. It was like that weird, like grayish green color, that strange plastic color that they had. But it was like all the buttons on the gamepad were like that funky. It's like a 70s avocado refrigerator, and yet maybe a little more gray than that.
Right.
It was like appliance color. Nasty.
But I was mostly against gamepads for the longest time, even up to like 5 years ago. I was like,
well, they sucked.
Why do I need this?
That's why. Because
really?
I'll tell you why. Until they made the Xbox 360 gamepad that you could USB into your PC, gamepads on PC were ass. And that's been the only good gamepad.
You had to get a lot of like either adapters or some kind of converter just to get a decent gamepad for the PC. And
really?
like Jim said, once the 360 controller came out. As a matter of fact, Microsoft came out with a USB dongle, and you can actually get one. You can get another one of them today, but they came out with a USB dongle that supported up to 4 wireless Xbox 360 controllers for your PC.
Holy shit!
So you could actually do split screen co-op games that like you might be able to like say you're emulating like Mario Kart 64, for example. You could actually play Mario Kart 64 emulated on your PC with 4 people playing with 360 controllers.
Wow.
But they came out with a dongle recently. Well, not recently. When the Xbox One came out, they came out with a dongle for the PC that supported, I think, like 8 controllers or something.
Oh
like
dear
that.
Lord! Oh dear Lord!
I could be remembering this completely wrong, but I felt like it was more than 4 different controllers that you could connect to it. But the thing is, with the controllers, at least on the Xbox, you can carry your Xbox profile with it.
Oh,
So
interesting.
So you can tie a profile to a controller on the Xbox. So like when that controller gets turned on, that profile is automatically logged in. I don't know if it did the same thing on the PC or not, but I know that's what it did on the Xbox. But as I said earlier, when they released the Xbox One S and Xbox One X, they just flipped and put Bluetooth in the controllers, and so now you can hook those controllers up to anything that supports Bluetooth.
And now they have those Xbox Elite controllers with those like flippers on the bottom. I know.
You see, I've played with one of those, and I
really?
don't. I don't feel it.
Mm.
I think those extra paddles on the bottom just do not do it.
So maybe I didn't realize this. So maybe that's why maybe that's why there's resistance, because it was relatively a new like a good gamepad on the PC is a relatively new thing as far as these things go. I didn't know that.
In my opinion, ever since the Xbox 360 controller, I feel like games have just been universally worked. Like anything that supports a controller, the Xbox controller has just universally worked for me. Like I have yet to run into a game that was controller supported where that did not work.
Oh.
You want to talk about like retro games, emulators, like anything. As a matter of fact, most emulators now come like almost like they're pre-configured to use the Xbox controller.
That's actually wonderful.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's actually
Yeah, well, I mean, because like
amazing.
I've dabbled with like the CMU emulator, which is the Wii U emulator.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And you know, like I don't even think I had to change any of the button mappings. I think it was just like already intuitively set up.
Maybe that's why I've been encountering such resistance to it, though. Like it's like it's such a
Well, I mean, you got
relatively new
the
thing.
tryhards out there, right? Because what's weird, and I'm not trying to talk down to our audience, because like I said, I'm a hardcore PC guy myself, but
Sure.
everything has its place, and everybody has, you know, what they're comfortable with. And if a developer is going to support more than one, but you know, if they've got something that they've specifically designed it, like, hey, you know. But he also put in support for a HOTAS, right? So I mean, it's kind of like,
Yep.
why are you bitching?
Yeah. No.
like really, like why are people complaining? They can do both.
Yeah. No. You can do whatever with it. I've tried it and it all works great, but like it's just sublime with a gamepad because it's like when you hold down the B button, cut the inertial dampeners, flip around to a guy shooting at you behind you, kill him, flip around to find another guy, and then speed off to kill him. It just feels right. And you can't really do that on the hottest. I tried. It doesn't feel the same. You know, like at all.
You know what game feels great with a controller? Blazing Chrome.
What? Wait, what is that?
Oh yeah. I haven't played it yet, but I'm gonna get it.
It's a retro style, almost kind of like a and it is, oh man, like when I first, it's not Space Games, but when I first got it, well, it's on Game Pass on Windows, right? So
Oh, it looks
I was able
very
to just,
metal.
like,
It looks very Metal Sluggy.
It's very Metal Slug. Yeah.
yeah,
Very Metal Slug. Contra.
yeah,
Some
but
hard.
it's got that.
Yeah.
It is very hard, but it's got those Super Nintendo graphics, man. Like, or like the Neo Geo. It's great.
Have you guys played Broforce?
Yeah,
yeah.
Broforce is a little bit more pixel arty than this,
Right,
but I
but-
still love Broforce.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Blazing Chrome. I'm gonna look into that because I'm on that $5 Microsoft.
Oh well, it's
Thing.
super easy, no brainer. Then it's like what, like 80 megs or something.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
Little tiny game.
It'll
I will have
install
to
real
get that.
fast, and you'll have a good time.
I've been
It's up
playing
on the
crack.
Switch too, isn't it?
You might throw that controller.
I've been playing
Yeah,
Crackdown
it's-
3 with it.
It's that kind of
great.
game.
Oh boy.
Do you remember the days of throwing your controller at how hard a game was? You're like,
Oh,
"Son
sure.
of a bitch." Yeah, you're
Oh,
gonna
sure.
relive those in real time.
I had a friend. I didn't have the consoles back then, but I had a friend who did, and I'd go over to his house all the time. And I remember specifically a session of Battletoads where he couldn't get past a part, and I was better like on the keyboard and stuff than he was. So he asked me to come over and try, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah, well, if you can beat Battletoads, you're pretty pro, anyways.
I know, right? Apparently,
Absolutely.
it's considered like one of the hardest games ever made. Apparently.
Yeah, arguably a great game, but also like super challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of funny, like, after getting a gamepad for the PC, I've been much more friendly to consoles. Like, I got a PS3, but I didn't play it much. And, like,
Yeah.
now I've got, like, the PS2 and the PS3 and the Dreamcast, and I kind of love the Dreamcast controller. It's a weird thing, but I
It really is, but I love it.
I do, too. I don't even know why. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world. It's
Why
heavy.
does the cord come out of the bottom? I don't understand.
That makes no sense. I mean, sure, you had the top part that you put the VMU in there, I guess.
The
But why
VMU,
couldn't you put? that little cartridge thing with the little screen on it. That's where the games would be saved.
Virtual memory unit.
And then you could play. There would be mini games on it. Sometimes it was. The Dreamcast was such a weird
let's
thing.
take a memory card and put a Tamagotchi in it.
Pretty much.
That's kind of what they did.
Well, what other console did that? There was some other. Like, they weren't the only ones. I feel like there was another company who did some things. I think PlayStation might have done something like that.
I don't know.
God, I was seeing something recently because I was watching Metal Jesus did a whole thing over in Japan, and they went to a bunch of retro game stores over there, and they were showing off some crazy stuff that I'd never seen before. So, but there was
some stuff that was Japan only, never made it to the West,
and that might have been one of these.
I heard about the most amazing Japanese Tamagotchi thing. So they made a Tamagotchi and they put a breathalyzer in it.
What?
But yeah, like, when you're drinking and you blow in it and it knows how drunk you are, except that it's not I thought when I first heard about it, like, oh, well, this is going to be a thing, like, you make sure you haven't drank too much or whatever. It's like, oh, well, I have this Tamagotchi thing and then I just breathe in it. And it's also like, it would be like, oh, I have a smartwatch and then I breathe on it and it tells me if I'm too drunk to drive or whatever. And yet, no, what it is, oh yeah, he found it. Pocket Station. What it is it's actually a Tamagotchi that drinks with you. So when you're in the bar, and yeah, so you can breathe on it, and then it gets drunk with you. Which is its own kind of Japan.
Japan,
yeah.
Man. I started playing.
So get this. So that little screen flips up, and it plugs into the memory card port of a PlayStation.
Oh, come on.
Wow. That's weird. And you can manage your saves on
That's insane.
Or whatever.
I've never seen this before, and I've worked at an EB, and I never saw one of these things. Let me see.
Well, it was only released in Japan, from what I understand.
Oh, yeah. You're
why.
right. Only Japan in 1999. It only lasted 3 years.
I mean, I heard of it, but I never saw one in person because of that.
A lot of games are compatible with it, too. Oh, my gosh. Look at this list. Hot Shots Golf, Grandia, Dance Dance Revolution? What?
Legend of Mana, The Legend of Dragoon.
Dear Lord. Pocket Digimon World. Wow.
Eat your heart out, Pokemon. We got the Digiman.
When you can't afford Pokemon, go Digimon. No, that's wonderful. But yeah, I really hope that Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, for example, sells some controllers. Honestly, I have a feeling it might, because it's not bad.
Probably will.
It probably will. It's not bad with the mouse and keyboard. It's not amazing either. You can.
I'd contrast that with, say, Everspace, which was designed for mouse and keyboard first.
Exactly. Yeah, I tried it with a mouse. I tried it with a gamepad.
Say, oh yeah, use a gamepad, use a HOTAS. No,
no.
Use a mouse and keyboard. That's the best control scheme, unless you're buying it on console. In that case, use the controller.
I did try it with controller a couple times. Just did not feel great. It really didn't.
But again, if you're on a console, that's what you have.
Yeah, that's what you got. That's true.
That's right.
So it sounds like, because you guys came from consoles, so you probably didn't need convincing to get a gamepad for your PC, whereas I did. It just it took European Truck Sim 2 to convince me to get a gamepad for my PC. Because
I've been using consoles since the 2600.
God,
all the way
joystick.
Through. I didn't get my first PC until I had an Atari 800 and Atari 800 XL, but I didn't get my first PC until around 1999, late 1999. Wow. So it was not really a big deal for me to not have a gamepad on it necessarily. I'd used them on a friend's computer, but I'd been console gaming up until that point completely. So
God, you
it wasn't
kind of
really a big transition.
You kind of jumped in at the right and the wrong time. Because, like, the 90s were, like, a golden age of PC gaming, but 99 was when it all ended. Pretty much.
Well, I would say 99 was, like, the downward... I don't think it, like, ended, like, on 99. But...
No, but it was
99, 2000. Like, 99, 2000
Yeah.
is when it fell down the hill, basically. And then, like, yeah. So I was actually like mad at consoles for a while. That's one of my reasons for not being big into the Gamepad until like recently. And now it's one of my most used peripherals. It's just an amazing thing. So folks, I'm just gonna say, if you're planning on getting Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, and you fucking better don't worry about the Epic Game Store. It's fine. It's fine. It's great. Don't worry about it.
And you could also wait for the console release. It's happening, you know.
Eventually, they've said they're going to take a break after the PC version comes out on Epic. I can't blame them. They're working their ass off. Like Travis like sends me updates on what he just like the big patches he puts out, and he's like making so many little changes to the game now. It's like we're so close. We're so close. If you're going to get Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, get a Gamepad. I'm not, it'll take a little bit of getting used to, clearly. But once you click with a Gamepad, you'll wonder how you didn't have one.
So here's the host on the show, speaking for myself, that has followed Rebel Galaxy Outlaw the least.
Okay.
But I'm intrigued by what I have seen. So let me ask you this, Burai.
Ask me. You guys can ask anything you want. I'm allowed to say whatever. I can't show anything yet, but I'm allowed to say whatever.
Well, the question that I have is, hold on, this damn microwave. It wants to, you can't, even if you open the door, it just beeps for forever. Okay, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. You are not confined to the cockpit of a ship the entire.
Well, yeah, it's a cockpit flight sim like Privateer. Like Wing Commander Privateer.
But do you not get out of the ship at all?
Well, when you dock, you get out. Yeah, you like remember Privateer when you dock and you'd go to the concourse and then you'd go to the bar.
Right?
It's like that. Yeah. It's exactly like that. So you get out of the ship and you talk to people in the bar. Or do
you walk around?
You don't have space legs. No space legs.
No, you do not walk around.
That's what I'm trying to get at. Gotcha.
Yeah, you do not walk around.
So your movement when you are moving is purely in the cockpit.
Yes, pretty much.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's because Travis gets motion sick.
Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. I was just curious.
Travis explained he gets motion sick, and that's why there's no like track IR or VR or anything. Or it would also take a lot longer to implement that sort of thing. You're not going to be holding WASD down to walk to the bar. You just say visit bar. And then if someone's there to talk to you, just click on that, and then you start a conversation. Just like Privateer. Exactly like Privateer. So, yeah. But,
so then let me ask you this: the flight model of the game. Is there like a drift mode? Is there?
Oh yeah.
An
oh fuck yeah. Oh my god. So when you're flying around. The A and the B button control the speed. A makes you go faster. B makes you go slower. When you hold down B, it cuts your inertial dampeners. So you can be flying in one direction and whipping around another direction. I use it all the play time. It's amazing. It's something you have to. It's something you really have to get good at to really excel at this game. Like you really need that extra. You really need that extra spinniness. It's probably not the most technical term. But yeah, you can do a drift mode where like, oh look, there's a guy behind me. I'll cut my dampeners and whip around and kill him, and I'm still flying in this other direction. There's a guy coming toward me. I'll whip around and I'll put back the dampeners and fly toward him. Yeah, it becomes like music. It becomes like dancing, basically.
How else are you going to hug the donkey?
And it's great because once you learn how to use it properly, I'm still learning how to do this. You can cut the afterburner, but still hit, I mean, you can cut the dampener, but still hit afterburner. So you can still change direction while you're in this inertia-less mode if you want to. So you could you can orbit a thing and still keep your guns pointed out, like a larger cap ship, for example, if you want to, or like a platform that you have to destroy. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there are, you can do that, and it's wonderful. Once you learn how to do it, you'll be using it all the time. All the time. It's just the best. Yeah, this game has, it's the best dogfighting since Free Space 2. Like, it is really just up there with Free Space and X-Wing and TIE Fighter in terms of how good the dogfighting is. I'm not even being hyperbolic. It's that good, y'all. If you haven't bought it yet, what are you still listening to me for?
Wow. So I think that statement right there kind of.
Yeah, I'm not even joking. I'm not even anywhere near joking. It's just a joy to get in and not even do a mission. Like, you can autopilot to a nebula or a jump gate, and you'll get interrupted on the way by a battle with 3 freighters and 10 pirates and 2 police people. And you're like, okay, do I help these guys, or do I just burn past them? I'll help. And next thing you know, you're in a big battle, and if you have some cargo space, you might get some loot out of it. I don't know. So it's just, yeah, I bounced off the original Rebel Galaxy after about 10 hours, 15 hours. Because it just puttered out, for me. But again, this one, and this isn't, and folks, we weren't intending this to be the Rebel Galaxy buy it you fucks show. This wasn't.
But that is what inspired the discussion.
Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly. This wasn't meant to be like a big buy Rebel Galaxy show, but it really just, I can't say enough good things about it. It's really going to be probably the best space game of the year. I can't see anything coming that'll be better than it, and it'll be a big surprise if something comes along that's better. And yeah, just some of the best space dogfighting you will encounter in the last 20 years. I just can't say that enough. And it's with a gamepad. Like at first I was like, what? It's a privateer style game. Surely you must want to use a joystick. Nope. Joystick. It's not as fun with the joystick. I mean, it works, but
I think that's where the confusion comes from, though.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hear that. They hear privateer, or they hear
Free Space.
They hear about
whatever.
games in the genre that are like it, and then assume it must be using a HOTAS.
Right. Which, again, you can do if you want, but this is a game where owning a gamepad is, I would say, almost a necessity, really, because the other modes, just, yeah, it's the best way to play it. It is, nothing beats it. Nothing. I've played every way you can with this game, and gamepad, there's nothing like it. I can't wait for you guys to play it in a couple of weeks. Oh my God. Hopefully we can get him back on the podcast. He might need they might need a vacation after it comes out. They've been working so hard.
So 3 weeks?
Yeah, about 3 weeks. About 3 weeks from, I think, today. Is it? Because the 13th.
Yeah, the 13th.
Is a Tuesday, right? I think it is. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 3 weeks from today. Oh my God. That's amazing. 3 weeks. Yeah, and you can pre-order it now on the Epic Game Store, y'all. Just don't stress about the Epic Game Store. You don't want to wait a year for it to come to Steam, do you? You want it now, right? Of course you do. Just get it on Epic. Stop being a bitch. Jesus.
It's my game, and I want it now.
We could probably we did a show about that, about Epic and all that stuff, about the store wars. We did a show, yeah. I was like, that'd be a good topic. Wait, we did it. That's where my brain is gone. But like, what would you say? Like, let's put Rebel Galaxy aside because you guys haven't played it. But what would you say is the game for you guys that uses the gamepad the best? Like, what's like your best gamepad game for you guys?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what.
No,
Space
I
game
mean,
or not?
no, not at all. Not at all. It doesn't have to be a space game. I'm just curious as to like, you think they got this right for the gamepad. Like, what's like the first game you think of?
In terms of like vehicle management and maneuverability, I feel like GTA does it really well, no matter what the vehicles are. I always feel like I'm having a good time with that. It took Wildlands they had to patch their shit for the vehicle controls to work right in there.
I heard they were terrible at first. I heard they were terrible in the game first.
You're gonna ask Jim. Jim and I were having the worst time with the vehicles.
Yeah, big time. And honestly, that's another one of those games where like I'll play mouse and keyboard, but then whenever I get in a vehicle, I pick the gamepad up.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I think we're all talking about doing.
Yeah. I had to relearn playing Monster Hunter World because I started out mouse and keyboard, and the mouse support was actually terrible at first because when the game first came out, they were emulating a joystick with the mouse.
What?
This is never a good idea. Yeah.
What?
So it's like, it's basically you move the mouse and it treats mouse movement as deflection of a thumbstick. So, you know, you move the mouse and it's like, oh, I'm going to turn. So it basically, it didn't have any feel of acceleration. Like you move the mouse slow, you move the mouse fast, it doesn't matter. It's just as long as you're moving the mouse, you get a constant rate of turn. All right. So sucked. But they fixed that, you know, like about 6 months down the road. But that game had a lot of problems. It had multiplayer problems and all kind of stuff. But it's good now, right? It's mint. But
it's definitely better now.
The problem that I was having, though, is like pulling some of the combos and stuff as I got deeper into the weapons. Just some of those combos don't come off well with a keyboard and mouse. It's a little bit too much piano playing that you got to do. But then you can just tell, like, I switched over to a gamepad, and I had to kind of like relearn all that muscle memory of, 6 months of playing the game. But then I flipped over to a gamepad, and it took about a week, and I was caught up, and now I can do things that I couldn't do. So that's just an example of a game that, like, we support keyboard and mouse. We don't do it particularly well. It got better, but it's still, the gamepad just wins.
Yeah. Yeah, is that true for a lot of console like ports? Like the gamepad is just almost always better?
Always. Pretty much, yeah. Except for like first person shooter games, because now it's gonna be really interesting when Halo comes.
I hate to, that's a good observation, Jim. I hate to bring this up again, but Grand Theft Auto first person shooter clearly is better with a mouse and keyboard on the PC than, say, a controller.
Well, anything that you have to aim a gun is better with a mouse it's like whenever you're doing anything with a gamepad, they have to have like an auto aim kind of thing going on. They have to assist you somehow. Like Call of Duty did it almost kind of like,
or at least have an option for it.
Yeah, because it's almost like, okay, you squeeze the left mouse or the left trigger would be like raise the sights, but it also kind of snaps to the guy that's close. So it's like, okay, close enough, I'll aim for you. Halo did it in a way, like way back in the day, right? Halo set the standard for a lot of things because that set the standard for how gamepad controls work. Everything after, right? It was Halo, and then Call of Duty took off from that and further refined it, and now we're done at this point. Like, don't screw with the control system because everybody knows this. Don't touch it. And that's why it makes me buggy, man, whenever I'll get a game from Japan and they have like some whacked out controls. It's like, oh my god, the wrong stick does the camera, and it's backwards.
Or their action button isn't at the bottom, it's on the right or something like that.
Well, the worst, man, was whenever I was
there's a
playing
reason
Armored
why
Core.
they reverse there's a reason why they have them reversed. If you look at a PlayStation controller, circle is on the right and X is on the bottom. And in Japan, circle is a symbol for yes or okay, and X is a symbol for no or don't do that, cancel. So that's why they're reversed over there.
Interesting.
But are the buttons actually in a different place too? Like circle and square?
They're that's the place they're in. That because remember also Japan is right to left for reading. So
so the
they
point I was trying to get
gravitate
at,
toward.
the point I was trying to get at was like the Xbox controller, right? A is on the bottom is typically like your action button for stuff, as where like that's O on the PlayStation, which is on the right. So it's just kind of like, what?
Did you ever play the first Armored Core games on PlayStation?
I did.
Okay.
I tried to play.
Dude.
I tried to play
It's
Armored
like-
Core 2, and oh Jesus,
Yeah,
Oh,
because
Jesus.
dude, aim up and down was the
shoulder.
buttons.
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
And it's like,
oh,
what the
shoot.
fuck were you thinking? It's like you got a dual shock, right? So let me use the other stick to. It took until they ported Front Mission over to the Xbox. I think it was like Front Mission 4 before they finally got it. And they were like, oh yeah, hey, we can use that second stick for something.
Oh really? I've never
Well,
played.
it's because also at the time, original PlayStation, they'd only recently introduced the DualShock.
Right. So it had one
So-
analog stick, and yeah.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, it had.
Well, I mean, I
the
know
one
why
analog
they.
stick.
I know why they did it because everybody was used to the one analog stick, and the first game was on that. So sure, but still, it's like
Well, the original PlayStation controller didn't have analogs.
it didn't have any. Right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but then they
and
added
that's,
analog.
and that's what it. Right, but that's what they built it for. So they assumed that people weren't going to make the switch over until it was after that they'd put it out. So it was, the control scheme was built on the original controller. What can you do?
Right.
It's for the same reason why a lot of the later games made use of the DualShock controller, and the original ones couldn't. It just wasn't compatible. They weren't designed to work.
I'll tell you, I tried Armored Core 2 because everyone told me that was like the best one, and yeah, I couldn't get past the controls, like at all. So I've not even touched another Armored Core game because of that. I'm like, which is not great.
What was the what was that space game that came out that was originally Enemy Starfighter and it became something else?
Oh, House of the Dying Sun.
That's good controller mechanics for
That
a space
is
game.
that is a good space dogfighter with the gamepad. Yeah,
that's a
that is
place
good one.
where I was actually angry because
Yeah.
I wrote the
Bittersweet.
joystick profile for that game, and then he was just like, and dumped it. And it was like, damn it, because I put like hours into that because it was basically he had his gamepad stuff, and then I was just like, all right, well I can write the translation for the axes into a joystick and throttle instead of your gamepad, and it was there, and he's just like, yeah, I just didn't want to keep up with it. And it was like, okay. But it's just like that game only plays with a gamepad now, and I can't use my stick. Well, I guess I could go in there and actually do my work again, but I'm irritated that he didn't ship it.
Well, I'm just upset that it was pared down from the amazing like open world jump where you want to game to here's a bunch of linear missions. that
Yeah,
are
it's like
really
the opposite
quick.
of the Chris Roberts effect. It's like Chris comes on and he's like, I'm going to make this pretty cool basic privateer game. And then, oh God, the feature creep. And then on the other side, Tipple's like, yeah, I'm going to do all this crazy, and then we got like a linear. If
Yeah,
those
and
two
he-
could have just worked together and met in the middle, we'd be
I'm
great.
so frustrated because he had it working. Like I remember playing the alpha and it worked great. I don't fully understand what happened there. Still, I'm kind of afraid to ask. But yeah, that House of the Dying Sun does have very good gamepad combat. You were absolutely right. I forgot about that game. It might have been purposeful. I don't know. Sorry.
Well,
That was-
it does what it does it very well, and then that's it. Like there's,
that's true. That's true.
I mean, it does have an intriguing story. It does have some fun combat, but you know, at the end of the day, that's as far as it went, and you know, it's not really gonna go.
And it
further than that.
it intended you to replay levels to get more space bucks, to get more upgrades or something. It's like
1 million
why?
space bucks.
Yeah, it's like, why do I want to do that? Why? Anyway. So yeah, like is it just weird too when you look at a game on Steam and it just says partial controller support?
What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't fully.
I can
That
tell you what
means you
that
can't run the menus and stuff with the controller.
No, not necessarily. It just
Okay.
means that when they say partial controller support, they mean that the Xbox 360 controller is supported, but others might not be. So it's a 360 and or the Xbox One controller. That when they say partial controller support, that's specifically what they mean. Is that those at least are covered, but you know, third-party stuff may not be.
Right. Oh, okay.
If it reads full controller, then that means that you can configure just about anything, as long as it has
Oh.
enough axes and buttons.
But partial controller support means pretty much 360, Xbox One, that sort of thing, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's got to be the minimum. That's the minimum requirement for controller support.
That's funny. Who would have thought Microsoft, years after getting out of hardware, like with their joysticks and whatnot, would make pretty much the best gamepad, pretty much one of the best gamepads on the market? It's kind of funny.
It's funny. I can use my Xbox One controller or my PS4 controller and just not skip a beat. I can pick up either one and they feel exactly the same to me in terms of how I use them. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
And
but
some
you're
people even say the PS4 controller is one of the better controllers you can use for a PC.
You know what I've heard is a really good controller? Is it the Wii U Pro or the Switch Pro controller? It's like $80. It's a Nintendo controller.
The Switch Pro controller is not bad. Yeah.
And apparently it's like one of the people are saying like it's one of the best controllers. Now you know what the controller I really want is. What was that mech game on the Xbox that came with like
it was Steel Battalion.
Yes, it had the dude joystick.
I
like,
played that.
C-shaped
It's pretty
thing.
epic, but good God, is that expensive?
Yeah,
I would just be happy for a PC port of the damn game because I can like supply the hardware that it wants. That's fine. But I just please give me a PC port of it.
Someone told me you can get those controllers working with a PC.
You can.
Which
But I'm just saying I could emulate the controllers because I've got stuff
Two-
that will do all that.
yeah, you need 2 joysticks and a slider and a bunch of buttons, and that's what it is, right? It's 2 sticks and
Yeah, it's 2 sticks, a throttle, 3 foot pedals.
3 foot pedals. Jesus
3
Christ.
foot pedals.
I'm gonna have to try this at some
I
point.
guess real robots have a clutch.
Oh shit! I don't know how to drive stick. I'm screwed. I can't drive a whatever.
Yeah, dude,
what are the-
that's what you need. You need
whatever-
a robot with a stick shift, right?
Whatever
It's
the
like,
robots are in that, whatever robots called in that game, I can't drive them. Oh no!
my Gundam's 4 on the floor.
Oh shit! I'm screwed. I would just be like, all the other mechs would take off. You would just hear me like grinding the shit because I can't do the clutch and the shift right. It's like, no, you gotta pop the. God damn it! So great. We should wrap it up. We've been going over an hour. We didn't always have to go for 2. I think we've exhausted this conversation. So, folks, just a couple of quick programming notes. This Thursday on the LAN party, we are going to be returning to one of our favorite roguelikes, Streets of Rogue.
Yes.
It just hit early access. I mean, it just left early access. And it is probably one of the most varied and amazing. Like, the only other roguelike that comes close, I think, in variety is maybe Cogmind, because you can change all your parts and stuff. But like, this game is just astounding in the ways you can solve problems. And there's
You can totally make custom characters,
Say again?
and totally break the game. So you can make custom characters. That's one of the things you can do.
Oh, really?
And you have 20 points to allocate to the different skills and your stats. And you can make it a broken character if you want. Putting as many up to 8 perks as you want to on the character. But if you use more than 20 points without putting any negatives on it, you won't be able to unlock anything with that character. On the other hand, you can make a totally broken character if you want. So that can be fun.
Oh, do you have a broken character already? I think you said you unlocked everything. I have not.
I've unlocked all of the base characters. I have beaten the game a total of 3 times.
Wow.
2 of them I've completed the big quests for those characters. So I've got some stuff to play with.
Wow. Yeah, I do not. So this will be fun. I'm probably still going to do the Doctor. I love the Doctor. I mean, I know I have other options, but I just love the Doctor. Folks, if you don't know, the Doctor is a guy who can't use weapons. But
no, you can't. You have one weapon you can use. It's the tranquilizer gun.
Yeah, that's right. But you can get behind someone, you can chloroform them and knock them out. And you can do that as many times as you want. It's great.
And the big quest for the Doctor is to kill under 30 people for the entirety of the run.
What?
So you can cause death by other means, but they cannot be directly attributed to you. Like, you can't fire on someone.
Right.
You can do things like throw an EMP grenade at a generator, have the generator explode, and that kills them, but you can't kill them yourself.
Right. So next week on the podcast, we're going to have something of a celebration of mods. We talk about mods like on the periphery. Yeah, we talk about mods on the periphery a lot. Like when we're talking about specific games, we might mention a mod or two. But this show is going to focus entirely on our favorite mods. And it's not going to be just space games, because there are a lot of those. But we want to talk about like what our favorite mods are for some of our favorite games, like Sins of a Solar Empire, or Battle for Middle-earth 2, or the original Doom. There are just a billion mods out there. Starpoint Gemini. The Defiant, thank you. So we are going to talk about some of our favorites for space and non-space games. So that should be a lot of fun, because, I mean, how many developers started as modders? A lot. So modding is we love modding around here, but we just don't talk about it enough. So next week, that is all we're going to talk about. So that should be a lot of fun. So folks, thank you so much for watching and for listening. And if you're a Patreon subscriber, thank you for supporting us that way. And if you've bought anything on the what? Teespring shop.
Teespring store.
Teespring. Space-game-junkie. It's on the bottom. There's a link on spacegamejunkie.com. There's actually a site called spacegamejunkie.com. I'm not able to link those yet. I don't have enough followers. You got to have a certain amount of followers to link them to your YouTube videos. I can link them to my Twitch videos, but I haven't figured it out yet. Like, for some reason, it won't let me link some things. I mean, there's a way to do it. It's just broken. So, but yeah, we do have a Teespring shop where you can get shirts, tote bags, if you're feeling like an NPR listener, that sort of thing. So, yeah, if you've supported us that way, thank you very much. You guys are amazing, and we love you, and thank you so much for listening and for watching and for interacting in the chat room. We love talking to you guys, so thank you, Fermion and AC Wraith and all the people that talk to us in the chat room, and we will see you next time on Thursday with some Streets of Rogue. Have a great night, y'all. Bye-bye.